Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Soul Focused Radio. This is your host, Martin Friedman, and once again, I'm blessed to be joined by our CEO, Mahdi. What's happening, Mahdi?
What's happening, Martin? It's good to be on this call, but I want to invite into the room Ragiva.
Okay, thank you.
Because I want to continue to invite Ragiva into the room. Ragiva is who I am. Mahdi is what I am.
Beautiful. Well, welcome.
So I want the who to continue to show up in the what.
Yes, sir. Well, welcome, Ragiva. We are also blessed to be joined by Ragiva as well as Mahdi.
That's right. That's right. I know it sounds a little crazy to you as you're listening to this and out there. You're like, this guy lost his mind. No, this guy is surrendering to the butterfly.
Found his mind.
Yes.
Found his mind. Found his essence and his truth.
The butterfly in my brain has been unleashed, never to be held back ever again by me. No one else could do it but me, and I've decided to unleash it. Like it or not, Ragiva comes.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. Well, I'm excited to have this conversation with you as Ragiva. And the conversation that I really want to have today is, people come up to me all the time, Mahdi, and they say, what does it mean to be soul focused? Where does this name come from? Soul focused, right? It sounds a little esoteric and a little out there, right? To a lot of people. And I really want to talk about what does it mean to be soul focused is I am coming to understand that what we're here for is to help people shed the ego, to shed our collective ego, to shed the aspects of the ego that have not been serving us, the making ourselves small, the making ourselves bigger in comparison to other people, the competing, the contrasting. And ultimately, what I'm coming to understand is that to be so focused means that we are healing from all those adverse effects of an unwell mind, an overly egoic mind. So I want to really talk to you about what does that mean, so focused? What does that mean to heal? And how are we bringing this to the world?
If you listen to how it sounds, when I say it fast, it sounds like I'm saying I'm so focused. And I want you to think about and focus on that. I'm so focused. I'm so focused on who I am that I have no time to be distracted by anything else. Because what ego is a distraction. It's everything else. So being so focused is being so focused on who you are at your core, and you're growing that and becoming that and unfolding that. That is your job. And guess what? You got 24 hours a day to do it because you're with yourself 24 hours a day. But here's what's been happening. You got 24 hours a day with yourself, but yet you're waking up 30, 40, 50 years of your life, even 60 years, even more. And you've discovered that you didn't know who you were. How could that be? Simple. You have been living distracted because you have not been soul focused. Because soul is who you are. It's the bedrock, the center of who you are. So when you get focused on who you are, everything around you begins to reflect who you are, not what you are, who you are. There are many whats you're going to become. There are many job titles you're going to take on, many responsibilities you're going to take on. That's all what. It's not who. When you discover who, and that's what soul focus is about, us going out into the world, creating opportunities for people to become one with who they are, without shame, without guilt, without all these hang-ups that come with ego, just being focused on who you are.
And so what we're saying, Mahdi, is that that's really what healing is. Healing is really becoming. Right. And I know I've heard you talk about it before that healing is not going back to where we were before we were, started to feel sick. But healing is being fully optimal, fully realized, fully into ourselves. Right. Soul focused. And then I was thinking as you were talking too, that SOLE, soul, like we are solely focused. Like that is our sole job right now is to be soul focused on being our true and authentic selves.
You know what? The story I like that really captures how powerful being soul focused is Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, the Dorothy starring Judy Garland. When I was 13 years old, I went to see that movie. It was my first time going to the movie theater. It was my first movie. And as you know, as African Americans, we had to go through the back alley because, you know, in the little country town I grew up in, they were still practicing segregation. I didn't know what I was looking at because it was just the way it was. But I couldn't even see that. And until I older, I played back that memory and realized like, oh shit, I was experiencing segregation. But I was so excited about the movie. And here's what. So Dorothy she travels the yellow brick road. And so many of us are on the yellow brick road right now. What is the yellow brick road? Yellow brick road is the path that we must take to face every fear that's stopping our potential from expanding to who we really are. Right? So there's this big fear, the biggest fear of them all that Dorothy has. It's not that she's not intelligent, which is a scarecrow represents. It's not that she doesn't have a heart or is not worthy of being loved, represented by the Tin Man. And it's not that she is not strong enough, which is represented by the cowardly lion. But it's the fact that she's been putting all of her hopes on a wizard that is not real. And when Dorothy gets to the Emerald City, and because she wants to get home so damn bad, something happens where she ends up pulling the curtain back and she finds out the wizard was not a wizard at all. He was a human being just like her, pulling strings. And at that moment, she had to realize that he wasn't real. And she became distraught. She was sad. And the witch of the north came in, the good witch of the north came in, laughing in her voice. And she says to her, "Oh, silly girl, you could have been home a long time ago." She says, "How?" "By clicking your heels together twice and saying, 'There's no place like home.'" Now, I know that sounds a little crazy, but it's symbolic. So her heels at the bottom of your feet is the sole of your feet. So when she clicked her soul together, in other words, when she became soul focused, she was home overnight. Wow. What is home? Home is being who you are, no matter where you are. That's home. When you could be who you are, no matter where you are home, no matter where you are. Do you feel what I'm saying? That's what being soul focused is. It's clicking your heels together twice and saying there's no place like home and finding yourself at home everywhere you are. Come join us. Come find out how to get home wherever you are. Because when you get home wherever you are, you're doing some living, baby. Some living. You have a beach house in Florida and a winter house in Philadelphia, flying, jet setting all over the planet. You're living, baby, because guess what? You're creating this how you want it to be.
That's right. That's right. Home is creation. Home is the understanding that this divide that we've been feeling inside of ourselves and that is reflected on all of these divides that we have externally, it's all false, right? Yes. And it's all that's the tornado, right? The tornado that seemed to separate Dorothy from her home was all an illusion, right? But it was externally put on her. You know, I know that, using the analogy of the Wizard of Oz, it was put on her by evil, right? By the evil witch. But the idea really is that the powers that be in this world are really trying to keep us divided from ourselves and from each other.
Well, what if they're really not trying to keep us divided, even though they are trying to do that? What if the universe is using them to actually not force us, but to encourage us very, very lightly or very, passionately to become all of who we are? To make the planet our home for real, to stop, walking out of church and throwing trash on the ground like it's not our home. I've seen it before. I was riding down the street one day and people were coming out of church and I saw this guy, I guess they were giving sodas away in the church and he just threw the soda on the trash, on the ground, walking out of church. And I was like, damn, what is the cognitive dissonance in that? That you just come out of church, you're saying you're having a good time in communion with God, but you have not made the connection that the planet you live in on is yours. Something, that's what we're talking about, being at home. Who you are, no matter where you are, that means you're owning where you are. You're owning the planet as yours, and you're taking on the responsibility to do your part in keeping your home clean. I know that don't sound like it's not connected, but it's very much connected because there's a disconnect in how we treat the planet, right? It's like it's not our responsibility, but it is.
Right. Because that's how we're treating ourselves, right?
Yes.
You brought a memory back to me, which is really similar. I used to be program director at a place in the Seattle area called Passage Point, and it was a transitional housing facility for people coming out of prison and reuniting with their children, right? So pretty much everybody that came and lived with us had either experienced homelessness or incarceration or both. And people would park in our parking lot and they would just dump trash on the ground, dump their ashtrays on the ground, dump McDonald's bags on the ground. And I remember having a conversation with people and asking them, does this feel like home to you? Because for many people, it was the first non-incarcerated home, that they'd had in a long time in their life. And they said it did. And then I said, well, why are you littering one of the only places in your recent life that has felt like home to you?
Mm.
And what I realized was they were littering themselves. These are, had been used to it,
right?
Had been used to putting drugs and alcohol and unhealthy sex and drama and gossip and unhealed trauma that manifested as anger. And so if you feel polluted, if you feel that you're littering yourself, that's how you're going to treat the world.
Right. And you know what, Martin? We're not judging people, because I think, on a certain level, it is a choice. Mm-hmm. And what is the choice? The choice is small incremental choice. It's not big choices. It's small incremental choice, like one choice at a time to get back home. What is home? Like that feeling that you felt when you were a little boy or a little girl, when you felt like you were closer to who you were than ever before. You were happy, you were excited. Now as an adult, you see yourself far away from that, and you got to start choosing one incremental choice at a time to get back home. That's your yellow brick road. Yellow, back then when they created the movie, was a color denoted to fear, representing that when you're yellow, you have a yellow streak, a coward streak. So she walking the yellow brick road, brick because it's one brick at a time of fear that we have to face, which are little incremental choices that bring us closer to getting home. Getting home is like us dealing with the stuff that we put in our own way and we've blamed on other people. Mm. Once we accept responsibility for what we've put in the obstacles we put in our own way, we can get home. But that is the great divide that you're talking about, Martin. The great divide is racism creates a great divide. Race created a great divide. Patriarchy creates a great divide. Homophobia creates a great divide. Bias in favor of white creates a great divide. Bias against people who are experiencing poverty, great divide. Bias against people who are unemployed, great divide. All of these create great divides in our cognitive understanding. Mm. It is our job to choose to go back home. I can't make you go home. No one has the power to make you go home. You could be in the worst condition there is, and it's still even the universe itself cannot force you to go back home. You gotta want to go back home. Go back to who you are. You gotta want it so bad, like Dorothy wanted. Dorothy wanted to go home so bad she was willing to walk the entire yellow brick road to the Emerald City.
Right. And it takes practice, right? Because I agree with you. Like when I think about Passage Point, where I was talking about earlier, it takes practice to learn to love yourself. It takes practice to learn to want to be home and to get to home. It takes practice, and that's what I think. We're focusing on the wrong thing. So when you talk about racism and patriarchy, sexism, and all of this stuff, I've been thinking a lot lately that they keep getting added on to as well, right? Of course, we have the political divide right now, the Democrat divide from the Republican and the red divide from the blue, right? Now we have the mask divide, which is like, do you wear a mask or not? And, when I'm out walking and I put my mask on and the other person doesn't, and we look each other in the eyes, and it's like another divide, another opportunity for me to feel better than or less than you. And it just feels like the divisions are that more divisions are being thrown at us all the time, right? These false divisions that are external, but really play out internally in us as well.
Right. I'm going to say something and it's going to sound like a monkey wrench, but everything is spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
And what we do is we think of things as physical and mental, but the reality is everything is spiritual. That being said, everything at its core has a vibration to it, a vibrational frequency, which we translate as feeling, right? So being home is a feeling. How do you feel when you're being yourself? How do you feel when you walk into something and you show up as your authentic self? How do you feel? How does confidence feel when you're in a room with your peers and you have confidence? How does that feel? Because that's home. Mm-hmm. And tuning into that feeling and being in that feeling all the time is what the goal is. We've been convinced to believe that we can't be in that feeling all the time. This is how they told us to. They said you can't always have what you want, because what you really want is to be in that feeling all the time. Who says you can't always feel good about yourself? Who says that? Who created that rule? Because whoever created the rule is a damn lie. And guess what? You have the power to create your own rules. And here's the rule you need to create. I have the right to be at home all the time. I have the right to feel good about who I am all the time. I have the right to be 100% on my side all the time. Does that mean I'm not going to mess up? No. Does that mean I'm not going to make mistakes? No. I'm going to make mistakes, but even in my mistakes, I'm still going to make the mistakes from being at home. I'm not going to attack myself. I'm not going to put myself down. I'm not going to talk crazy to myself. I'm going to still love myself even though I made a mistake, because life is built one brick at a time by mistakes. That's how we grow. That's how we evolve. That's how we get into home even more so.
Mm. And, I'm glad you said it exactly how you said it, because you said this might sound like a monkey wrench, right? Well, a monkey wrench is an actual wrench. It was an actual tool.
Right.
It was a tool, and everything you just said is an actual tool. But we've come to believe that something that can fix everything is actually going to be harmful. We've literally shifted the name of, because monkey wrench was an actual tool that you could fix things with, run gears with, and then they'd say throw a monkey wrench into it to make it stop working, right? But actually, what you just did is you didn't throw us off. You actually provided a tool, a spiritual tool, right? And the other thing I want to say, Mahdi, is that in the Jewish tradition, we learned that Jacob's name changed over the course of his life to Israel. And that the true meaning of Israel, it doesn't necessarily have to be a geographic place, right? That people fight over and whatever. But Israel actually means home.
Isn't that something?
Yeah. And when God renamed Jacob to, Israel, then, really what he was saying is that you need to go home. And I believe we've lost the true message of that, which was a spiritual message. It was a spiritual home, not a physical home that we needed to get back to, all of us.
Wow, that's powerful, Martin, that you would make that connection, because it is true. We see the ego makes the things outside of ourselves more important than that vibration, that feeling, because the ego does not understand spirit. Because it wasn't in the spirit class when the class was being taught. Your soul was. So your soul understands spirit and the vibration of feeling and knows that it's the feeling that we're trying to get in tune with. I tell people all the time in my coaching practice, do not go shopping before you get in tune, in touch with the feeling you want to feel. Like, for example, you want a house? Don't go house shopping until you get in tune with the feeling you want to feel when you walk in that house. When you get in tune with the feeling you want to feel, the house is going to reveal itself, because it wants to become one with the feeling, the vibrational frequency. We need to apply that thing in all our lives. Get in tune with what you want to feel. Don't worry about the physical thing right now. Only focus on the feeling, because that is home. That is always home.
And, we talk a lot about healing, right? And so everything we're talking about right now, we're using this metaphor, this analogy of going home as healing. So, we focus a lot on racism. That's how you and I met each other, and how we both met Dustin was through the work to to end racism, what was called the anti-racist movement. And part of the anti-racist, what we're transforming it from a struggle, an anti-racist struggle. So even in the analogy that I just gave you, Yisrael or Israel initially was like, the name was like he who struggles with God or wrestles with God or wrestles with an angel, right? And then there's a spiritual alternative to that meaning of going home. So you don't just get home by struggling or fighting, but you actually get home by reconnecting and, speaking as somebody who has, the who I am, or excuse me, the what I am, the multiple identities of white and Jewish, European Jewish, Ashkenazi Jewish, and finding so much spiritual essence in my Jewishness, which really doesn't come from the European Jewishness, but comes from the roots of Jewishness that comes from Africa. For me, that's spiritual connection, right? That's actually what home is. And I know that whiteness has kept me from being truly home, truly authentically me. And I know that in order to be productive in the movement to end racism, I have to heal from that great divide. Whiteness has divided me from the essence of who I am. And I know that I need to heal from whiteness as a white person in order to be home.
Right. That's beautiful you say that, because as a person of color, that's what I am. Black man is what I am. It's not who I am.
Right.
And if I allow my ego to get me caught up in that, then I won't be able to get home. I won't be able to tune into how it feels when I am who I am. When I walk in confidence, 100% on my own side, I won't be able to really experience that in all forms. This is what healing really is. Healing is getting back home, as you said, Martin. And healing is about, not returning to that period before you were sick. Healing is about optimal functioning. It's about you reaching that point in you where you are operating at your highest vibration, which is home. Home is your highest vibration. We at the Soul Focus Group, we invite everybody home. We're having a homecoming party while you are alive. Because in the Black community, we say homecoming means somebody didn't pass. Somebody didn't pass on to the other world. We're saying we want a homecoming parties while we are alive. We got to change the script. We got to create this to be so, that we're having homecoming parties while we are alive. So we have homecoming all the time when we're together. When I'm by myself, I'm having homecomings. I stay at home no matter where I am. I could be in Indianapolis. I could be in New York. I could be in Chicago, Florida, wherever I'm going to be at home, because I am not betraying myself.
Wow. And so that's our work. I mean, it's not, even framing it as work, even as I said that, that's where we need to be putting our energy. And
that's our flow.
That's our flow. Our flow is transitioning away from the what to the who.
Right.
Flow. And all of us, right?
Yeah.
Now, I have many examples of this, and you and I just experienced an example a couple of days ago while we were doing a training where white people and people of color believe that white people don't have the right to heal in the quote unquote anti-racist movement.
Right.
That somehow it's privileged, that somehow people equate, don't see that we're allowed to say as white people that whiteness has traumatized us. As I like to say, being descended from the oppressor, as Dr. Joy DeGruy says, the post-traumatic master syndrome, that there is a trauma of being white and being connected to the horrific and heinous acts, that were done from folks who were becoming white and who were white to people of African descent, indigenous, Latinx, Hispanic, and Asian. Right. And I really want to hear your thoughts about, the right of healing that white people either do or don't have, my friend.
So that question came up: do white people have the right to heal from racism? And when we started talking about that, we was like, we didn't realize it was going to be controversial.
Exactly.
We were like, shit, it is controversial for a person who has been deemed to be, sick, in terms of, because people of color would tell you because of racism that white people are sick, and a lot of stuff that they've done, their ancestors have done, has been totally horrific and sick.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So if we say that they were sick, then they must have to have the right to heal. Other than if they don't, then what in the hell we want to do working with them? Why even have a workshop where we bring together whites and blacks and people of color all with each other if white people don't have the right to heal from racism, from the trauma that they've inflicted on others? Because inflicting trauma on other people has a direct impact on you.
Right.
That white people have not gotten in touch with, and people of color has not gotten in touch with the fact that white people need to heal, just like people of color need to heal. Because people of color have a sad misperception that we are somehow the holy grail example, and we're not. We are too traumatized. We are too hurt, and people who are hurt other people until we heal, until we come back into our optimal functioning. Our entire society is filled with people who are not even living up to their optimal function, not living up to it, but not even moving toward it. Because if the conversation about white folks healing is something that occurs as controversial and something that you want to oppose, imagine how really ill we have to be in our own mind if we don't want somebody that we believe has caused as much pain as white people have caused to heal, to become healthy again, to become optimal functioning.
Wow. And really, ultimately, it's our responsibility to heal from trauma, right? We didn't cause trauma on ourselves. We, as folks of color, you all didn't bring the trauma on. For those of us that have suffered childhood trauma, which is, most human beings, right, have suffered various forms of trauma. We didn't bring that on ourselves. We can't change that, right? We can't go back and change it. We can't change the people that traumatized us. And it's all of our responsibility to heal from that trauma. Because if we don't heal from that trauma, we traumatize others.
Yes.
And so when we say white people need to heal from trauma, the trauma of being white, it's the opposite of an out. It's stepping into our responsibility. The only way that we will not continue to perpetuate whiteness is to heal from that trauma. Right. And that's not just the white supremacist. And I'll argue that it's more damaging is the white liberal who doesn't even know that, because it's white liberals that are telling us that white people shouldn't have the right to heal from trauma and that whiteness wasn't traumatizing to white people.
Right. And it's white liberals who want to go out and assassinate other whites, based upon the fact that they just learned something the other day. They just learned about racism and about their role in racism yesterday. And so they want to go home and then assassinate their white family members, make them feel bad because they don't know what they know. And see, this is proof of the sickness. This is proof that there's a need for healing because they haven't reconnected fully to their humanity. Because if they reconnected fully to their humanity, then they would know that the first place they have to go back home and spread healing is their own families.
Right.
It's white people. But liberals want to hang around people of color because it takes them off the hook for dealing with the healing that they have to do within their own soul to get back in touch with the humanity that whiteness disconnected them from. Likewise, it's the same thing with people of color. We have to heal. And white people have been the scapegoats that we've used to point at to distract us from healing the great pain of the trauma that we've suffered from our ancestors being enslaved. And even from today, we are still not dealing with the pain. We're not healing. We're not coming clean with ourselves. We have a lot of work to do. And look, sometimes that work requires us to separate. We do need some time alone. We do need to be removed from our abusive relationship or the abusive, toxic relationships we've shared with white people to get a sense of what it means to breathe clean air, metaphorically speaking, in our own life. So when people of color get mad because we say white people have a right to heal, it's because they don't want white people to heal because they are struggling not to heal. They are in the caterpillar state fighting to not become the butterfly. The universe said, hell with that. Everybody needs to become the butterfly that has the potential to be the butterfly. You decide if you have the potential. Are you happy being sick? Are you happy being mad all the time? Are you happy being depressed? Are you happy feeling disempowered and like there's no future for yourself? If you're happy with it, then keep having it. Have some more. If you're not happy, if there's something inside of you pulling at you, if there's a voice in your head saying there has to be more to life than this, then damn it, open the door to the butterfly. unleash the butterfly in your brain.
Yes, 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 yes. And the abuser does not stop abusing because the person being abused tells them to stop. The abuser stops abusing when they heal. That's it.
That's
The
right.
abuser stops abusing when they heal from whatever traumatized them that makes them abuse other people. That's it. That's it. And we've been going about it wrong. We've been asking, cajoling, demanding the abusers to stop abusing when really we should be asking, cajoling, and demanding that everybody heals. Once everybody goes through that healing process, and I do want to say this too, because even as I say healing, I think for most of us will be a journey. It's not a destination necessarily, right?
It is a journey. It's a process.
Yeah. And so we get caught up, I think, especially with linear thinking, that it's like that when you get there. But to be healed is to be healing. It's to be in that process that is about growth, that is about transformation, from being that caterpillar to that butterfly. That's what we're saying.
Yes, it's definitely about health. And it is a journey. Like I told you, one day I was talking to some doctors and I asked them what health was. And they was like, well, it was kind of baffling to them that I asked that question. As we were talking, they said, well, it can't be the idea of just returning to the place that you were in before you got sick. Because that's not really what health is. They said to them, health was returning to optimal functioning. So that's a journey. And that journey is calibrated by home. The conversation we started at the beginning, talking about getting home, getting in tune with that vibrational frequency of what it feels like when you are in your full self, when you are showing up whole. Because anytime we're leaving a part of ourselves behind, we are not healthy. We're not optimally functioning. So no matter what storyline you're telling yourself, no matter what narrative you tell yourself about how you can't be your authentic self, know that every time you leave a piece of yourself behind, you are preventing yourself from being healthy. You are participating in unhealthy practice that would lead to all sorts of illnesses on all levels. We function at our optimal best when we show up whole.
And we do that so rarely. We so rarely show up for ourselves and for other people whole. And so what we're saying, Mahdi, is that we're saying that at Soul Focus Group, becoming soul focused, solely focused, all of that is our invitation to join us on a journey home, a journey away from all of these false identities that have been so painful, caused so much pain, a journey away from depression, a journey away from misery, a journey away from constantly feeling like, victim identity is the only identity we have, or constantly feeling like oppressor is the only identity that we have. It's a journey away from guilt for white folks. It's a journey away from shame for white folks. And it's a journey back to our true and authentic selves. That's the work, quote unquote.
Right.
That's the work, right?
Right. For me, it's like I open the door to Rock Giver, not because I'm trying to be better than somebody else, not because I'm competing with someone else, not because I'm trying to please someone else, not because I'm trying to impress anybody else. I opened the door to Rock Giver because Rock Giver knocked, offered me the opportunity to become bigger than I've ever been before. And you know how scary that was, to accept the invitation to be bigger than you've ever been before, when you've been thinking in your mind that you don't know how to be big? Rock Giver said, I'm going to teach you a crash course on how to be big after being small. All we're asking, all we're giving you is the invitation to open the door to being bigger, to being Moses, to being Teddy Bear Moses. Because Teddy Bear Moses is big. It's bigger than more. In terms of the energy, the space it takes up, and the lives that it touches. We're saying every one of you, someone has been knocking at your door. A bigger version of you is knocking at your door right now. Right. Open it.
That's right.
You ain't got to know how you're going to get there. It's not your job. Who you are will show you how. But right now, how is not your business.
That's right. And the fear we feel, because yes, I feel that fear too. The fear we feel is not real. It's made up. It's manufactured fear. It's manufactured fear, right? I mean, it's not real. There's nothing scary on the other side of that door.
No.
Nothing scary.
No.
Home is on the other side of that door. We are on the other side of that door, our true selves. Ragiva was on the other side of that door. Teddy Bear Moses was on the other side of that door. Who is your Ragiva? Who is your Teddy Bear Moses?
Right.
Think about that today. Really spend some time. Who are you? Who are you beyond
what
all
you
the
are?
whats? Yeah. Woo. Man, this has been great. I appreciate you so much, Mahdi. I appreciate it.
Likewise, brother. It's been a beautiful experience.
Yeah. Beautiful experience. I love that we can have these conversations. I want to make sure that everybody that's listening just knows really just how much and truly we love each of you.
Yes.
We love who you are. We cannot wait to be a part of you becoming precisely who you are. We cannot wait.
That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. You say we can't wait for you to become precisely who you are. Exactly who you are.
Exactly.
Ooh, that's so powerful for a person to show up exactly as they are. Oh shit. Oh.
And we're ready. We're ready for you. We're ready for you. There's nothing to be scared of. We're ready for you.
Yes,
come on.
Yes.
Come on.
I lied. They gave me goosebumps the way you said it, to show up exactly as you are. Ooh.
That's right. And so to that end, we invite you to listen to all of our podcasts. It can be found on all of our different platforms. We invite you to come to soulfocusgroup.com to see about all of our offerings. We're about to, offer some very exciting new webinars coming up before the end of the year. We invite you to look at us as a resource to build up your resourcefulness in times that might seem hopeless to you because of what's happening externally. And so we invite you to come on this journey. And more than anything, we invite you to every day, every hour, every minute, every moment to stay soul focused.
Stay soul focused.
If you wish to support and represent the Soul Focus Group, check out our apparel store at our website, www.soulfocusgroup.com/shop.